How's it going, gang? His smile is gone, his optimism is gone, but his undying love for playing bad deck nowhere. Well, I guess is everywhere to be seen. His wordplay also has left the building, apparently. Yeah, we're doing Bagra. BT14 gave us some new pieces, which I wasn't super excited about, but then they said they were giving the Skullknightmon promo, which changed everything. So now we're back on our BS and playing the Taxman deck, and it's a very different approach compared to how things were in BT13 and before that. So yeah, let's get into the profile. We are going to be on the My Hero sleeves. Thank you very much for Jasco Games for sending these out because, yeah, they are very cool and I enjoyed them a lot. Apologies, I have not done the most recent set coverage. Just employment stuff has been beating my ass. So here we are. We'll go from the eggs because Digimon is at the eggs. We're just running 4 now. You can run the 5th one. Like Demi-Mirror is still useful if you do have those grindier games, and sometimes setting up a card in trash is pretty useful now that we do actually need to send some things to trash. But more often than not, just going straight +1 in hand is pretty nice. So we just run the 4 eggs. And right now the meta's so fast, you probably don't have time to go into a 5th egg, so just 4 Monimon. In terms of rookies, keeping with the save theme, we did used to be like more hunters, but now we have cut down on the package. We're running 2 Gumdramon because being able to play him for effectively 1 is very, very nice. And sometimes you know, on your off turn when you're not raising and attacking, you just need to be able to get sources sometimes. 3 Sambomon for when you are actually going on those attacking turns is the best card to have pretty much in raising most of the time. And it does have the when trashed gain a memory, whereas Gumdramon can give you the draw sometimes if you need it. Both pretty good. Neither of them Bagra tagged, Soundbird criminally so. Our first Bagra tagged card is going to be the one of Chikurimon. When it blows itself up, reveals top 5, lets you find 1 Bagra army card, which can find your use. It can find your... I don't think it can't find Buzzing Fist, even though Buzzing Fist is only 4 Bagra army cards. Smile. But it can find your U, it can find the rest of your pieces except these guys. So it's pretty useful, and it blows itself up, which means the 4 cost effectively becomes a 3 when it saves under a U. A card that actually is 4 cost though is Digimon. This one is a much better searcher more often than not because it then can convert into a body on board, or you can swing it in security and get your 1k check. If they're going to be under memory setter or you've already gained your use, this is what you use to search it anyway. Digimon, pretty useful. Finds top 4 for the Uemano as well as a Bagra, so you can go +2 as opposed to just that single +1 off of Chikuri. And speaking of Chuchumons, we did get the new one, which at first I hated. The 1 cost Evo sucks. The 3 drop is, you know, it's cheaper than the 4. But it does give inherit blocker at all times to everything, unlike before where we could only give blocker to stuff that had save, which meant that as soon as we left level 5, we lost our save targets. This giving inherit blocker to everything is incredibly useful. And it allows you to enable the new Damemon, who is also blocker inherit, but also has retaliation, which means ideally with this under a U, you then digicross out the Damemon with the Chuchumon to set up a retail blocker, but they have to find a way to answer before actually committing to their plays. Damemon also sometimes loading it on the back. If you have like a rookie and raising and they've left something, being able to just go Damemon, swing into it and clear the retaliation is really, really nice. So in terms of rookies, 4, 6, 10, 13 rookies, nice and high count. None of that 10 rookie nonsense that we were doing back in the previous set. So, 2 of the new Damemon. Right now I don't see a need to run more of him, but you could probably adjust your ratios if you wanted to go more Bagra army tagged. I'm still running 1 of the Hunters one. Many people's least favorite card because he has a tendency to bottom deck 3 pieces, but this man never does me wrong, and when he does do me wrong, all he's doing is cycling me 3 steps closer to finding that first U, which is incredibly important. Because sometimes you just don't open anything. Obviously, people go, oh, why won't you use the Shoutmon King version? It gets the free play stuff. Sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes the game has decided I'm going to lose, and this gets me 3 cards closer to maybe not losing the game. Also, gives blocker to things that have save, does come up. You can put it under other things. And if you are evolving, it is a source that you can just throw out willy-nilly without getting rid of one of your purple things if you want to reduce it if you are playing Evo. It's also a Digimon in name, so Tuamon goes over it for 1. Gives decoy to you using the matchups that it matters. Then it floats into any Digimon, which is incredibly annoying. It goes sideways as well, which again makes this Digimon more useful because then it's just cycling through 3 more cards. And this time we are actually running Shoutmon King version. We are running it at 3. This is actually a byproduct of when we didn't get the Skullknightmon promos announced. I was hard coping and testing this with Lightning Joust to make up for the Sec +1, and I ended up just liking him a lot because being able to free play the U turn 1 for the exact same cost whilst also getting something on board is incredibly good. I still have not done the Digicross video on going like Tamers and Digimon that represent more than just themselves. This card is definitely going to be a mainstay of that. Very, very solid card, and is my preferred way to play out U's if I have him, and if I don't, cool. He's also very, very useful after, like in the later game where Darkness Bagra has bounced everything back, because then you can just use him to bring back the Tamers that are now in your hand. For the rest of the 4s, 3 Mad Leomon. Less useful in some matchups because stuff like Jessamon OTK brings their sisters back from trash. Alphamon, you know, if they pitch a sword, cool. Benreluga just puts the pieces that it will then bring out. So it's less useful in this. There'll be some decks that dislike it if they're trying to get their hand size big, but more often than not, it's really just there because it in name helps you reduce the cost of Mad Leomon Armed down to a 2-cost Digicross, because you can use 1 Bagra and then 1 Mad Leomon. So using Mad Leomon as a 3-of because he's less useful. He is a cheaper Digicross if you've only got like the 1 Mad Leomon. But if you've got armed mode, this plus this and something else can make it a 2-drop or a 0-drop if you're using you. So we're using that just to increase the consistency of being able to drop him for 4. And then we are running 4 of the new Skullknightmon. Some might think it's a bit excessive, but I think it's absolutely necessary. You want to see this guy as often as possible. 4-drop on turn 1 is very silly. It kind of telegraphs that you do have a U, but you do feel pretty good when you go first, do Salmomon, play Skull Knight, turn 2, Skull Knight dies and plays your U, and then you're golden, you start going. And like worst case, you just play the U behind it. But I think this card is really, really cool. It also means that your Muso Knightmon can now actually be like a 2-check threat and actually apply some serious pressure. And it means that Lilithmon and Blastmon, if they stick around after they've done what they need to do, they are an offensive threat that might be priority answered, because otherwise they are just going to swing for as many checks as they can get. Because once they've done their thing, they're not really around for long, so you might as well just get as much value out of them as you can. So this is great under them, especially once you've pitched the sources that you need. Otherwise, it's just putting a bunch of checks under a Bagra and free playing your U's when you can. 3-cost Evo kind of sucks, but with the Taiki you can reduce it, but who cares? That's all the 4s. Top row, well, to be fair, not really top row. These are the cards that you kind of want to see the most. Maybe argue that way around. The Digimon's fantastic for just clearing bodies and being a threat. It basically is like a jamming body because nobody wants to block it. This free plays your U's. This one's your best way of cycling because people will be playing Purple Memory Boost. They'll be playing stuff that gets them draws, and you can just force them to hand over draw power to you and help you find the rest of your kit. So these 3 fantastic, and you want to see this wherever you can. Digimon is just a get out of jail free card sometimes if you need it, and the rest of them are there. So we are on 5, 9, 13, 14, 15, 18 champions. No real surprise there. Bagra is a deck that does have a whole lot of level 4s in it because that's the cheapest that we can start making use of our good friend Yuan Amano. 2 Muso Knightmon, kind of alluded to it earlier, does actually have value here because it treats itself as a Dark Knightmon and a Tuamon. The Tuamon means that you can do this over itself in order to get a cheap Digivolve, and it being 10 cost with a like Digicross sometimes means that it's cheaper to go de-digivolve a body before you then Bagra to tuck it or something like that. It can, like, we don't have any DP gains yet, but it can be the difference between being able to play your boss monster and keep turn, or get a little bit of removal and keep turn, versus alpha. It lets you de-digivolve the BT14 alpha and then tuck the body, because it won't have the protection once the alpha gets de-digivolved back. So it is quite useful, but also it is a Dark-Knightmon, which means you can then use it for other digicrossers. So that is the 5s. There's only 2 of them, but we'll talk about the rest of the generals. Lilith, high key, one of the best cards in the deck. I know most people hate Lilith. Basically, no other Liths were using Lilith back in BT12, 13. She now sets up a massive 50-50 for anyone that is playing a push out of raising OTK style of deck. All Force really struggles into it. Red OTK of any variety struggles into it, like your Agumon boxes, your Jessamon OTKs, because they now have to push out. And if they swing, they're going to be losing 3 memory. There's absolutely no way to floodgate that out. They are going to lose that memory. And it's non-once per turn. If they pop Lilith, doesn't matter. They're still under the floodgate. You're stealing 1 straight away. So even when she comes down for maybe a little bit more than you'd want, you're getting 1 of them back. And obviously she loads a U as well. Because it's mill 4, add 2 Bagras to hand, 2 under a Tamer, which does set you up quite nicely. But then also, if they choose to push out to go, okay, I'm not going to hand you over the memory, I'm going to push out and then OTK you next turn, then the body tends to get shot dead, which is pretty sick. Do have the 1 Blastmon for finish, because unreactable kill from hand is always very good. It does have a black source, which is relevant, but more often than not, you are keeping this into your hand and you are just waiting to drop it as a zero cost rush body for rush blitz body for game. So very, very solid card. All you need is 3 and then suddenly the game is over. 2 Bagra, because he is the dude in the chair, and burning someone burning someone when they digivolve for the first time is fantastic. Being able to do the unique tucking that very few cards have protection against, it's fantastic. If they choose to go single stack, hand over your entire hand. It is mine now. And then you get to trash 1. So sometimes if you see someone digging, like they are missing their piece, they drop a training, they drop a boost. When they finally get that card, if that card doesn't immediately end up on a stack or something, Bagra comes down if they're on single, hand it over. The thing that you were just looking for, pretty good. Sometimes just having hand information is very, very important. Obviously, sometimes it backfires, like you go to take something and then there's 3 more copies of it and it's like whatever, especially if you've had to pay an expensive amount for it. But if they go wide, you get to do the unique burn. If they go single stack, you get to just steal cards off of them, which is also very, very funny. And yeah, the burn security, make X antibody actually cost them a memory and a security is pretty funny. So Bagra does a lot. It is once per turn, unfortunately, but it is what it is. It is also a name that lets you digicross for the Darkness Bagra. Shout out to both Tommy Tricks on the sticks and the entire fanboy gang for hooking us up with the silver Darkness Bagras. So no more quartz. Instead, our 7 is Darkness Bagra. With Lilith is the combo where you shoot it. In fact, I will read this card because I'm sure most people haven't. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon, then place up to 5 Bagra army from your trash. Has Digivolution cards of this Digimon. It doesn't even say the bottom, so you could technically just place them wherever, which is very interesting. Opponent's turn, when an opponent's Digimon digivolves or attacks by trashing 5 cards in this Digivolution cards, return all Tamers to their owner's hand. And of course, all the Bagra stuff has, when it's trashed during your opponent's turn, gain a memory. So you tend to just steal 5. It is non-once per turn. Should you have a stack that is 10 wide, that's 2 bounces. Did they evolve with a Mind Link Tamer or didn't Mind Link them ahead of time? Bam! There goes everything. Steal turn. Did they push out of raising and go, okay, I won't OTK you. Bam! Evolve over Lilith for 6. Shoot the body dead and they're just like, they're gone. Like, how do they come back from that? They usually can't. You can digicross it with the Bagra and the Muso, just sometimes you just have to figure out what you need to do. It can also evolve with a Muso for 9, which is a bit... but sometimes de-digivolve into pop is just worth the memory. You get the draw off of it and stuff like that, and there's the fact that you get to load stuff from trash means that the second Darkness Bagra, if it comes down, is just as effective as the first one, sometimes even more so, because you do get to load up the 5. Obviously, if you've bounced Tamers, you're trying to use as much from the Tamers as you can to get them under the Darkness Bagra, knowing that it's going to go. But you also don't have to pop the effect every time, like on the first one, it is optional, so you can just choose when to pop it. So sometimes people will do something expecting you to do it, and you just decline it, wait, and then they get into the memory range where you can now ruin their turn. And sometimes they do that, and they go for an awkward line expecting something to go wrong. And then they've committed to the wrong line because you've then waited to then do the punish. So Darkness Bagra, very, very cool, very, very fun card. Quartz does exist, you could still run it, but without any save level 5s, it's a little bit harder to use. It would only be able to go with Blastmon because Bagra is mono purple. So these are your generals. We don't run KnTElixar because he is a bozo. Yeah. Lilith fans rise up because we do not run the KnTElixar at all. We do have 2 Buzzing Fist back in. Put the errata one on top. From security, play you a mono from your trash or hand without paying its cost, and then add this to the owner's hand. Also, you play it for 2, you reveal top 3, you add a Bagra to hand, trash the rest, and you add a Bagra from your trash to under one of your Tamers, which then procs the U, so usually Buzzing Fist comes down for 1. Very, very solid card, especially when you're starting to go for these level 7s or your 6s, and you're just trying to fill up sources. Paying the extra 1 is often worth it, because you're going a card in hand and then a card under a Tamer, which then draws you an extra 1, so it represents a draw off of doing it. Early game, it can be a little bit iffy when you don't have a guaranteed Bagra source in trash, so be mindful of that sometimes you can actually have to pay the 2. But sometimes it is just worth doing it, and I have had turns where I just buzzing, and then do what I need to do. And yes, it cost more, but I was able to get more sources under something that mattered. We are running 1 calling, because we are a purple deck, and calling is busted, and sometimes you just need to get your Digimon back from trash, or pop something that didn't die. Sometimes you swing your Mad Leomons, your armed modes, as a 5k body, and they just don't die. Sometimes your rookie doesn't die, and you just go, okay, I really needed you in trash. So you're just calling it. I had a game where I had to find 2 checks. They were on 2 security. I had a Muso with the sec +1 inherit. I went to swing, it dies on the first check. So now I'm like, oh, I don't have the second check to then have my sourceless, my blocker body swing for game. But then I realized I could swing it. I swing it, it died. Then I was able to use a Shoutmon King version Digicross to field. Calling that, save, it saves a purple target, it refunds the memory of the calling, and I've got another purple source under, which then let me Blastmon for game. So calling, the fact that it pops one of your Digimon, or if your board is empty, you get to do it. Basically cost free, is very, very solid, and sometimes you just need to bring back your non-Bagra pieces, like your Soundbird, your Gumdramon, stuff like being able to do that is very, very important, because it means that you get to leave your Bagra sources in trash for Darkness Bagra. We also running 1 black option, Laplace Demon. Very, very funny card. If you're going into a Darkness Bagra turn and they're too wide, what you want to do is you want to Laplace one thing and then shoot the other, because then at the start of their main phase, they're forced to commit the swing, you pop your 5 sources and you still turn straight back. So I have dropped Laplace many, many times just to sort out just some entirely unfair situations. You can also have it where you have your blocker retaliation Damimon, Laplace, knowing that they're going to be forced to swing before they can remove the body. And that is also another excellent way of doing board removal. So this 1 cost option is a demon. It's in the name for a reason. Very, very solid card. Is sometimes a little bit clunky because you don't always have your black source. It's your blocker Tumon that has the black source, your Damimon that has the black source, your Darkness Bagra that has the black source. We're not running the new black U. So you have to be mindful of when you can actually drop this. But when you see an opportunity for it, it is very good, especially if they're not playing Mem Setter and you can set up a situation where this one passes and then you steal 4, it's fantastic. Speaking of Tamers, we do run the one Tigeroo because it's a Mem Setter, it can get hit off the Damemon, it can get hit off the Shoutmon. I mean, might as well, right? Like, Memory Setter occasionally is nice, especially if you're stealing turns off of you or Mano from setting up saves. It's nice to not force yourself into a Mem Choke situation, especially if they have a Mem Setter. It's very, very annoying when you are forced to save and get the memory and it steals turn, puts you on 1, and they would have had to pass you more memory. So having the Tigeroo sometimes is there. I hate playing this card. Usually it's I'm winning more, or I just need any Tamer that's going to give me a save, and I have a Shoutmon in hand. I very rarely hard play this because Shoutmon makes it cheaper, and I kind of just hate the dude. Taiki though, we do love Taiki. We will play Taiki whenever we have the opportunity to, because once you have the first U, maybe the second U down, you don't really need the third. This guy is who you want to see, because being able to load a card with save and text and draw is a free cycle, is better than evoing in most cases because you've achieved the same card advantage, but also it's now a purple. If you're saving a purple card, it's a purple card that can then be used for Uemano, who is our last set of cards in the deck. We are just running the 4 of them because if you're running Bagra without 4 Us, you are going to lose more often than you would normally lose playing Bagra, which is a decent amount. But when the KB's tier list, that's the word I'm looking for, when the KB's tier list comes out, you'll see we actually think Bagra has a place in the meta. It's like the gatekeeper of tier 2. If you can't outperform this deck, then your deck is definitely stuck in tier 2. Probably not bottom of 1.5, but it's a solid list, and I really think that it has potential. Obviously, its hard matchups are the blue ones like Mirage and All Force, but you can catch All Force if they have to set up. You can outspeed them and set up the really weird situations. The thing is, though, that Joe and Zudomon help strip out particular sources, and now that you're running sources that aren't just the effect traffic gain and memory, you can have your blocker sources stripped, so you do need to like double up on blocker sources or stuff like that. Very good into the red OTKs. Unsure about green yet, but basically if you're having to play deletion or you're going to have to play the swing game, this deck can keep up and it really can gatekeep. So yeah, hope you like the 50 cards in the pile. There's some things you could probably chop and change, but I'm pretty happy with this list, and I've been playing Bagra for far too long, and this is what my take on the meta is and how this deck can keep up and absolutely gatekeep your locals. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe. We do have an Armour list coming out soon, and we're back to BT14 footage where you actually will get to see this deck in motion against Melga. In fact, I'll probably be recording it later today. But yeah, thanks for all the support. Road to 1K. Watch the podcast if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.